Today we are talking about 1957's novel On the Beach, a story about a global war in Europe that causes a fuel crisis in Australia. Huh. That's interesting. What a hmm. Hmm.
What a crazy concept.
What an outlandish idea.
So, how long ago did you pick this book? Like,
Um,
how far ahead into the future were you seeing?
I picked this in November. And I did that because I kind of got the impression that because Israel basically were like, oh, this is what we want to do in like the next 4 years. And I was like, maybe this book will be contemporary and important. Yeah. So not that far ahead. I don't want to like take any credit where I'm not due, but I did kind of go, this will be because one of the things about this book that is like really interesting, is it does a lot of thinking of like the logistics of what would happen in a way that we don't often see. And this is also part of the fact that like of when it's written, like, right, this is pre the 80s and like the big like science fiction, science fantasy boom, right? This is still very much written in the style of like, it's almost like a contemporary biography that's fictional or something. Like there's a quality to it that feels very unique.
It kind of reminds me a bit of Jules Verne.
Yeah.
Like just the very like play-by-play nature of like, yeah, so sort of like a banal story, but with an interesting like premise.
Yes, that's exactly right. Yeah, it's very and that's part of what the book is doing, right? Is it's thinking about like, well, what would your life become in this situation, and how would you process it? And the answer for some of these characters is they don't. I guess I want to go to you first, Pat, because you were the most naive reader in the sense that I don't think you knew anything going into this except that it was part of this unit. What did you think?
You started off calling him promiscuous, and now you're calling him naive. I just want to point that out.
I did not call him promiscuous. You drew that conclusion all on your own. And that says something about you more than it does about me, I think.
Wait, what was implied about you saying I was promiscuous?
He's assuming that because I said you were drinking too much, that you were the girl that's doing a bit of sleeping around.
True. Yeah, right. My thoughts went to that old guy they met at the bar.
Yeah, because you're not, because your mind isn't filthy like JM's.
All right. My general thoughts. Yeah, the story about nuclear Armageddon hit a bit too close to home with this one. It kindled some growing paranoia that I have, some genuine paranoia that I have, and I'm sure that a lot of people have right now. It was very Australian. It was strange seeing my neck of the woods being featured so prominently in this novel.
The number of times Cairns came up, I was like, Pat is going to be freaking out. He's going to have like a paranoid daydream.
They surface in Cairns and they look, and from the way he was describing the what he was seeing, I was like, this ain't. I was literally imagining the exact point where he would be. I was like, I don't know. But also, this was set in the 60s. So I was mindful of that. I was like, things are probably different.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But yeah, yes, like just in the, I don't know, everything about this book is very Australian. I kept, reading it in an Australian accent in my mind, which I don't normally do. The way that the people are at once very practical about their impending doom, but also like very willfully delusional. It's like, man, I can so tangibly like imagine that. And yeah, it's so interesting comparing it to The Road because like, despite how stark and gray, like the actual setting of The Road is, that book is very lurid in terms of, like the horrors of the story and stuff like that. Whereas contrasted with this novel, like On the Beach has this very reserved dignity about it. It's melancholic, but it's not sappy. It's it's at times comedic, but it's not shallow or flippant. It just feels very real and grounded, and yeah, as a result, it kind of uncomfortably real, which is this book doing its job. So yeah, I'm pretty invested, and I think so far it's a great book. And yeah, needless to say, very prescient as well.
Yeah, I I had not initially planned for it to be as relevant as it is, but yeah, to your point, like the road feels like this constant hallucination of this other like second world. This feels like kind of uncomfortably I it feels it's realistic enough to some stuff that's happening now that like there were points where I did have to set the book down and just be like, I need to not read this for a second, in a way where the road I was like, oh, like this is a completely different world. But like especially because it's like places, there's at one point where they go to a hotel and I've literally been there for a pint. And I had this like really uncomfortable moment of like, oh, like especially the opening of this book where he's describing how they all get around now. And I was thinking back to like 2 weeks ago when I jokingly said on the podcast, like, oh yeah, like I guess I'm not driving my car anymore. Like, yeah, that is what's happening. And so yeah, to your point, Pat, some of this is a little too close to home in ways that I'm still not yet processing. And I'm choosing to not process. Yeah. Yeah. JM, high level.
I had a whole lot of those same thoughts. I don't remember where it was that I was also like I kind of want to put this book down right now, and a lot of the descriptions that Pat had, I was seeing as a a reflection of the age in which the book was written. Um, so the tone of the book, it just reminds me so much of like my grandparents before they got super old, when they were still kind of like young-ish, and the stoicism and I don't know, all of this stuff. I want to see this done modern, if that makes any sense, because like the entire story only comes off the way it does because of the period in which it was written, which maybe is like a no, a no duh kind of statement, but so much of what makes this interesting is only because it was written in 57 or whatever, right?
That I think I completely disagree with that. That's so interesting. I think it just feels indelibly Australian. I don't know, like the like stoic kind of jokey kind of style of conversation in this that like snaps into like absolute austerity and like sincerity. That's like that's life here. I don't know.
Yeah, but yeah, I mean that's still alive when you go to visit your parents or your grandparents or something. Like they act like that. Yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting. And maybe this is part of the Queenslander thing, maybe specifically, as opposed to like Australia in general, and probably Perth as well, because Perth is like 15 years behind the rest of the country, but like, culturally at least. But there is something about this that made me go, oh yeah, like the people in this book are people that I overhear like at the pub, when I'm watching the football or the F1 or whatever. And it's like, this is just a type of person that still exists in Queensland. I don't know. And this is just going to be a acculturation thing, right? Like, you just don't have access to that JM. And so, like, that makes complete sense. Whereas some of this for us is still kind of contemporary, stylistically, to the way some people where we live actually behave, which is really interesting.
I didn't want to say who, but like one of the characters in this book is just like exactly one of my family members, like the personality.
Damn. Yeah. Yeah, there's someone in this book where I went, oh yeah, that's so-and-so that I know. Not in a bad way, just in a way where I was like, oh yeah, that's absolutely how she would behave. Yeah. Interesting. Okay, well, I guess this will be a really fascinating discussion then. This is the rare case where we have the upper hand on JM, because it's set in our backyard.
What do you mean rare? You always have the upper hand on me.
Well, culturally. Because you're always like, oh, you're always saying some crazy shit about America. We get to say some crazy shit about Queensland. That's unusual. All right, Pat, when you're ready. So today we are reading, I didn't say this at the start, chapters 1 through 4 of On the Beach. So Um, in the